In this video, we will talk about the differences between the properties for animation based on the options on this drop-down menu, whether you have from current appearance to current appearance and to current location. We will also talk about the timing panel for animations within a page. So for this, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and select all these items that I have here. I'm going to delete them. That's from the previous video, and I'm working just on an iPad setup, so nothing new there. Then I'm going to create me 3 rectangles. I'm going to give them a little bit of color so that we don't see this as bland. I'm going to create, actually, let's make them red. And I am going to create 3 different colors. Now, for each one of these 3 rectangles, I want to create some type of animation. So for the first one, I'm going to select that. I'm going to the animation panel, and I am going to choose from my presets. In this case, what I want to do is I want to fly in from the left. So that is the path that my rectangle will follow. It will start here, and as you see the arrow pointing to the right, that's where my animation is going to. For the second one, I'm going to choose fly in from the left again. So basically the exact same setting for both of them. However, for the second one, I am going to change the setting to from current appearance. And you'll notice that now my animation goes from here to this point. So that changed the position of my animation, the actual path of animation. For this one, for the previous one, I had it to current location. Let me go ahead and keep that as is. And then for the third one, I am going to create, let's say, a grow large animation. And for that one, I want to choose to current appearance, let's say. So I have from current appearance to current appearance and to current location, the different options. So let's take a look and see what these animations do when I play them back. So I'm going to do, I can either go to my EPUB interactivity window here, up here, or if you notice on the animation panels, and most of the panels under the interactivity section have this little icon down here, which basically opens up the same window. So if I click on this, it opens up that window for you, and then it allows you to preview the action. And you'll notice that my animations play automatically because they were already set up for play on page load. That was the first thing. If you notice under the animation panel, if I click any of them, that is the trigger event on page load. But you'll notice that basically when I do this, my first one is gigantic and it goes to be small. But take a look at the order in which things happen. This one flies in from the left, the other one goes from that point to the right, and then this one shrinks. Now, let's go ahead and go back to our animation and switch things around a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the one that is supposed to grow, which is what I chose, grow large, and it's now playing in reverse. That is to current appearance. That means it's going to go from large to small. Now, I don't see any indicator here that's telling me what is that going to do? How is it going to work? Well, that's where this little button comes in, and that is an animation proxy. What that does for you is it shows you basically if I click on any of these animations and I click on that button, it's going to show you a ghost image of what the proxy animation will be for that specific animation. In this case, it's not showing me anything because nothing is changing. But say, for example, if I were to change the position of this thing to here, okay, and then I were to add also besides that grow animation, if I wanted to say I want this to be, let's just click grow on this, and perhaps add a motion path to that. So I'm going to click boom, boom with my pen tool. I'm going to select both of them, and then I'm going to say make motion path. Now you see that there is a proxy where this is larger. So it's going to go from this point to this point, meaning it's going to say from current appearance. It's going to take off from here and it's going to end up larger and at this point. Now, if I switch this around and I say to current appearance, my animation will start from here and it will go and grow smaller to that point. That's how it's going to be. So basically, the option amongst these 3 is depending on how you want your animation to take place, the direction, and basically how, when it plays back, how the animation will be played. in which direction, or in which order, not in which order, in which direction, and whether you're going to start from where you start visually, where you are within the creative process, in the animation point where you're starting to create the animation, and going towards something, or vice versa, depending on the option. So keep an eye on that arrow. That's what's going to tell you where the animation is heading when you are applying those animations. Now, you'll notice that as soon as when I played this and I load the pages, they all play one at a time. And let's say, for example, I don't want that to be the case. I want everything to happen at the same time. So in order to work with that, in order to work with the having everything trigger at the same time, we need to change the timing of the animations. So let's go ahead and select all 3 animations and go to the timing window. You can also go to the timing window by clicking on this button down here. It will open up this window for you. So that the animations that we've created are listed here. They're all called square because I didn't give them any separate names. If you notice, when I select that square and I go to the animation, that is the name that's been given. So if I wanted all animations to have different names, I would give different names to each one of them over here. Now let's go back to the timing window really quick and take a look at what this is giving us. By default, all the events are happening on page load because I have no other trigger. So basically it's saying the event that is triggering this is on page load. That's what you've got. Now you can go ahead and click each one of them independently and create a delay if you want to create a delay for each one of them. Just like with the animation window down here, under the amount of plays and the looping, under the timing, you also have the ability to determine the amount of plays and looping for each one of these animations as you work with them. Now, let's go ahead and say I want the delay, by the way, is just the amount of seconds that you want this to hold before it actually activates. So if I say I want a delay of 1 second, then let's go ahead and actually select all 3 of them and put in a delay of 1 second. Notice that when I play this back now, my rectangles will remain in the center of the screen for 1 second, and then the animations will happen. 1, boom, boom. So the animations, basically, I meant to say, I forgot that I had set up this to start from and to, so I had changed those settings. But you'll notice that there's a slight delay before the animations happen. It's a delay of 1 second. So that's what that delay does for you. So if you want to delay things one at a time, that's what you would do. You would create a delay under the timing window. However, let's say I don't want any delay. I want this to be 0 seconds. But I want all 3 animations to happen at the same time. So to do that, what I want to do is I want to select all the animations that I want to happen at the same time. You can do this by shift clicking in each one of them, or you can control click as well to select independent ones. And what you want to do at that point is, once they are all selected, in this case I want all 3 of them to be selected, I want to click on this button here, which is play together. It basically links all animation to activate at the same time based on whatever has triggered the animation, whatever event has triggered the animation. So if I click play together, notice that they all get linked with that little line, and when I play these back now, when I test it, all 3 animations occur at the same time. So I can play all animation, and now obviously this animation here is taking a little longer, so that probably means that this animation here, the third one, it's probably a little longer in terms of the animation timing. If it isn't, or if it is, then it's something that you can modify. One more thing before we move on from this is, notice that depending on the type of animation that you set up for this, in this case the preset is grow, you can tell it what scale to grow from and to. So if I change this, let's say that scale, I'm gonna link it so that both grow the same amount. I am going to make the starting point to be larger if I want to, or I can make it smaller depending on what you want. You have control over that, so you're actually working on scale. You can also add some rotation to things as they go. So say, for example, I want this to rotate 180. Simply changing that option will automatically make this rotate 180 based on the registration point, which is the center over here. This is the same registration point widget that you saw in Animate and that you saw in the other programs that we've been working with. So, and you can modify the timing for that animation to say half a second. And what's going to happen, you notice that I made all these changes after I had activated the connection amongst all three. What I just did is independent to that specific, to that animation only. Each one of them remains independent, which means that you can go back and modify without actually breaking the timing amongst all three of them. So this is actually very flexible for the workflow that you're working on. Let's go ahead and play this back, and you'll notice now that the animation seemed to be a little bit more properly timed. And the reason for that is because these have ECEs out, as you can see ECEs in, sorry. So you'll notice that they are automatically slowing down as they come in. That is the default setting. This one doesn't. So let's go back to the animation window again. So let's close the preview window. Select these and let's make them, you'll notice that my tween frames are getting closer in that path as they come towards the end. And that is the ECEs in. This one, same thing over here. This one, however, seems to be very linear. So if I want to do an ECEs in to the next keyframe, I want to go to the animations window and I want to choose the speed preset ECEs in if I want to, and you'll notice that they got a little bit closer here. Or if I want to separate them there, I can do ECEs out and you'll see how separated my tween frames got. So you have control over this just like you did in Animate. Once we do this, let me preview this again, you'll notice that the animation sort of it's getting even closer to it happening at the same time. Obviously, I don't have as many frames on this animation as I do on these, so maybe I want to increase the amount of frames, and you do that obviously by changing the position of the second frame of the first state in this case. So let's go ahead and select the object to get the path, click on the path to select the path only, and now I have control over the path. I can go ahead and expand that if I want to. And if I look at this, I see more frames towards the end over here. Now, that spacing in between the frames, it's specific to that particular animation because of the type of animation that's happening right now. I have a lot of things going on this one. I have rotation and scaling going on at the same time. So that's why you see those tween frames kind of being the way they are. But you can go ahead and modify that, like I said, number one. Number two, I created this path. If you recall correctly, I created this path myself. So this is not a path that was given to me by a preset. I created it by modifying, by drawing and attaching the path to that animation. So with that in mind, I can go ahead and modify that path if I want to by using the pen tool. So again, once again, let me go to the pen tool and go ahead and see if I can modify that, the curvature of this thing. Let's go ahead and make it a curve and see if that affects the amount of frames that I see towards the end, getting in here towards the end of my animation. You see that they're starting to get a little closer. So, I mean, all of these things, the combination of all these things is what determines what your animation will play like, and you can control the speed of things. Let's say, for example, I want that animation to even be further modified. Let's go to the animation, let's go to the timing itself. I can delay that independent from the other ones if I want to. I can go ahead and go back to its animation and change the duration of that to 1 second once again, and you'll notice that will automatically give me a lot more frames, as you can see. So bringing it back to 1 second again and having that the ECEs in, ECEs out, sorry, in this case ECEs in, modification will give me a smoother animation, just simply increasing the amount of frames. So again, the one thing to take note of is that the animations are controlled, the from where and to where they go or happen are based on the animation presets that you have here, and that once, even after you have timed everything to happen in a specific way or order, you can always go back and modify them without breaking any of the linkage that you had creating for the timing. Let's go ahead and do one last preview. And let's move on to the next topic.